Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Alice Prejean of knowthyselfandheal.com. So today we're going to be talking about the full moon in Capricorn that's happening on July 3rd, 2023. This is happening at 7:39 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're in the Pacific Northwest like I am, then this is happening at 4:39 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then, of course, you can translate this to whatever time zone that you're in. So, as we know, with all full moons, this means that the moon is opposing the sun. And the sun is in Cancer. It's at 11 degrees and some minutes. So you can find where that is in your chart. Where's the sun shining the light on your Cancerian consciousness? Whatever house it's in, this is the aspect of life that the sun is shining the light on as we are in Cancer season. And with this full moon, the moon then reaches 11 degrees and some minutes of Capricorn. So it's opposing the sun. And so this is really coming into some kind of a completion internally and externally in regards to our own Cancer Capricorn consciousness, this particular axis in consciousness, which is a cardinal axis. So it's an initiating axis. If you don't already know, the cardinal signs are Cancer and Capricorn, Aries and Libra. And so these are the signs or the archetypal energies that we utilize to initiate new things, new realities. And first that starts from the inside and then is then reflected in the outside, right? And so this is first done with our Cancer Capricorn axis and consciousness, this yin sign, whereas Aries Libra, the cardinal consciousness that squares the Cancer Capricorn axis, that's yang. This is the yang cardinal signs, right? What's interesting about this is that this is the full moon that we have before the nodes of the moon move into Aries and Libra. We've been experiencing the nodes of the moon being in Taurus and Scorpio, and the fixed signs of Taurus and Scorpio, those being the yin signs of the fixed Grand Cross. We've been experiencing those nodes for 18 months in that axis of consciousness. And they're going to be moving into Aries and Libra on July 18th of 2023. But right before the nodes of the moon shift, we have a new moon in Cancer. And so in this video, I want to cover the full moon in Capricorn, but I'd like to also bring in that Cancer new moon and talk a little bit about the Aries Libra axis in consciousness and the nodes of the moon shifting there for an 18-month cycle. So, as we said, the moon opposing the sun, oppositions always are going to be reflecting our, like a Libra aspect, meaning that we get reflections from the things that we're relating to in the outside world, or the outside world is reflecting back something to us. And this is why full moons can be emotionally turbulent or touching us in an emotional way, because the sun is shining the light on our internal structure in consciousness when it's the moon in Capricorn. How are we structuring our reality from the inside out? This is what Capricorn is about. How we really structure our reality based on thoughts, perceptions, ideas, how they form into belief systems, which is Gemini Sag season. And then we utilize those to actually build our reality. We create our personal reality from our thoughts, perceptions, ideas, communications, and transmitting communication, and how those things eventually turn into belief systems that support us. Really, the ultimate truth is that it contains all truths. So what may be true for someone else is not necessarily true for us, what supports someone else and their reality and the reality that they desire to build for themselves doesn't always support our ideas about how we should structure our reality, right? And really, ultimately, the creative expression does support all truths. And this is why we have a very diverse world, right? So, different cultures, different beliefs. And so, of course, through Gemini season, we could have been really looking at what are our thoughts, ideas, perceptions, how that translates into beliefs. Is that supporting us since the last Gemini season, or even since the last Sag season, right? And now we're into this Cancer Capricorn piece where we're looking at our emotional security and how thoughts, perceptions, beliefs support emotional security, and they support the foundations by which we build our reality, right? And is the outer world really reflecting to us our how do I say this? Is the outer world and what we are building with our consciousness in our personal reality, is it really what we desire? Is it really how we want to feel when we're in our reality? Do we feel good? That usually feels good, right? We feel emotionally secure when things feel good. If it doesn't feel good, then we can be seeing that, and we can see, what is it about my reality that isn't feeling quite right? My cat is meowing over here. So, interestingly, Venus is in a pre-shadow phase. You probably know this if you're following astrology. Venus is going to go retrograde this summer, and Venus goes retrograde on July 22nd. It reaches about 28 degrees of Leo and then goes retrograde. In this full moon chart, it's at 22 degrees. It's direct. It hasn't gone retrograde yet. It's in what's called a balsamic or completing conjunction with Mars in Leo. Mars is at 25 degrees. Venus is going to retrograde back all the way to 12 degrees of Leo, in case that's helpful for you. You can see where that retrograde's happening in your chart. What house is it in? Is it moving over specific planets or opposing planets, squaring planets in your natal chart? That's a big deal. And part of the reason is because Venus is still the ruler of the North Node. But interestingly, too, by the time that the nodes shift into Aries and Libra, then it's going to be the ruler of the South Node. And that's different. That's the yang form of Venus, and it's going to be ruling the South Node. So this part of our consciousness that we're probably going to be doing some shedding in regards to Libran archetype, how we relate to anything and everything in the outside world, and particularly in relationships, how we are attracting things to us based on our inner vibration, Venus, as it rules the North Node in Taurus. We've been doing a lot of work there for 18 months. Now it's going to shift. All the work we've been doing in regards to really working with the inner dimension, the inner vibration of Venus, our yin consciousness of Venus, how we internalize and how we really sense our own reality internally through our senses, Venus and Taurus, and also valuing ourselves and what we love. I'm really looking at our own heart, our heart chakra, and attuning to it, attuning to our natural self, our core self, our soul, with the nodes of the moon being in Taurus and Scorpio. As we've been doing the work, as we've been actually shedding any attachments to our ideas of power or powerlessness, maybe even intimate bonds and intimacy, maybe resources. how we've been shedding those things has then created a new vibration within us in our own hearts. And then as the nodes shift into Aries and Libra, this means Venus is going to be the ruler of that south node. What is no longer resonating with all this work we've been doing with our heart chakra? And what we value, what we love, what we see as a resource, and what is actually something that depletes us, depletes our life force energy. Now is going to be the time where we're coming into some culmination with this full moon in Capricorn, and as the nodes of the moon move into Aries and Libra. So this Mars and Venus, as they are both rulers of the nodes right now, Mars rules Scorpio, but remembering that Mars rules Aries, where the North Node is going to be here very soon. Venus rules, as we talked about, that South Node when it moves into Libra. So this is interesting. We're having this retrograde, and as I said, it's in a pre-shadow. So this is really likely, bringing in the vibes, the vibrations, the relationships, the things that have to do with Venusian themes in regards to how we're self-actualizing our own light. What is it that's depleting us, depleting our energy? What is it that's actually going to assist us to self-actualize our light? Also remember, Pluto has moved back into Capricorn. It's going to move direct in October and then move back into Aquarius. And that's going to be a 20-year transit. This is going to be dredging up all the stuff that doesn't really contribute to our cultivating our own unique brilliance and our own unique light and sharing that in the world. So when Pluto moves into Aquarius, it's going to likely really do a lot of dismantling structures in the outside world. Whereas Pluto in Capricorn, being a yin sign, it's not that it didn't dismantle things in the outside world, but notice how it was quite subtle. It was more internal up until, let's say, 2020. And then it became more apparent of really things changing in the outside world. We had done the internal work, and whatever internal work we didn't do was exposed when 2020 came along. Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn were in Capricorn, moving over their south nodes. And then, we all know we went through the pandemic, we went through lockdowns, and we were really likely exposed to the parts of our reality that we had been living day to day that were actually not worthy of going back to. They were not feeding us. They were not good for us in some way. They were keeping us stuck in realities or personal realities that were actually really dimming our light and really not assisting us to feel really, truly alive and passionate. And likely it shined the light on relationships that weren't working, relationships that do work, relationships with ourselves, our own identity, what parts of our identity work, what parts of our identity don't work. Chiron's been in Aries, assisting with that as well. So this full moon's pretty potent in the sense that it is the full moon in Capricorn, where Pluto's been, and Pluto's moved back into Capricorn, and then is getting, go back into Aquarius. And as I said, the nodes will shift, squaring the Capricorn Cancer axis in consciousness for 18 months. So this full moon is important in that way, where we can be coming into culmination in some way or another, in some aspect of our life or another, depending on what house it's in your natal chart. But it could have to do with relationships. It could have to do with your self-actualization process, how you're structuring your reality in regards to that, how you're going after what you want, or how you're not going after what you want, where you're applying energy, where you're not applying energy, and also what really resonates and what doesn't. And, Venus is just in a just past the exact square to Uranus. And so it's a waning first quarter square at the full moon. And so, we could have had some shocks around our own values, our own creativity, our own self-actualization process. Maybe where we've applied energy suddenly and surprisingly, discovering more about ourselves, more about our self-actualization process, more about our creativity, and more about what we vibe with and what we don't vibe with. Also about what we're attracting and what we maybe don't want to attract anymore. That could be coming up as well. So the North Node's at 1 degrees and 24 minutes of Taurus, not far from completion. Jupiter's in Taurus. Neptune will have just gone retrograde. So as I'm actually recording this video, it's June 29th. So Neptune goes retrograde tomorrow. Neptune retrogrades at 27 degrees in 41 minutes. And that's on June 30th, right? So Neptune is freshly retrograde, and Saturn's retrograde in Pisces as well. And I think this really does contribute to realities that are dissolving right now. Personal realities that have come to completion. And maybe even personal identities that are coming to completion. Parts of our identity that we've lived out and that is ready for something new. So Mars is in a quincunx, and it's called a waxing, or so approaching a quincunx to Neptune retrograde. So that's really interesting too. And I think that is, okay, there's an adjustment in the way in which we're applying our energy. Mars is always about how we apply our consciousness, how we apply our energy. And, as we're dissolving old realities and old identities, it makes sense that we would need to have this aspect where it shows a quincunx. It shows where it is that we can make adjustments so that we are appropriately applying our energy. When I say appropriately, it just means going in the direction that we desire to grow, that it would produce the results that we're desiring to produce, is creating the karmas we desire to create. And when I say karmas, it just means when we apply energy in a specific way, over time it becomes instinct. And so we can need to make adjustments so that we're making and creating new instinctual natures that are actually in alignment with what we are now, who we are now, what it is we desire to build now, what it is we desire to create now, right? So there may be adjustment. And this can, be that it can show up where it's like something in the way in which we're applying our energy actually doesn't even work anymore. It just doesn't work. It like literally slips through our fingers. It's like it doesn't work for us. We're in a new reality. And so we could have to make an adjustment. We could, have to find new ways to actually apply our energy and, to build new dreams and new ways that we, build the life of our dreams. I think we could even find ourselves attracted to new kinds of things, new kinds of people, new kinds of light, new kinds of creativity as well. We could even really be finding that we have this new creative idea or endeavor, and we are needing to apply ourselves in a new way, and we're not exactly sure what way, but we're finding out. We're making the adjustments necessary to really, find our way of doing something. So that's an interesting piece there. Now, in regards to how this then plays into the new moon in Cancer. Now, the new moon in Cancer is July 17th. And it's really interesting because the nodes of the moon are at 0 degrees and 1 minute Taurus, like the very last minute of Taurus. So the new moon in Cancer is like really just, pretty much scraping up the very last drop of the potential of the Taurus North Node. And that new moon is going to be at 24 degrees, 56 minutes of Cancer. And so it's literally, almost 25 degrees of Cancer. So in that chart, we have Venus at 28 degrees, and it's just about to go retrograde. And so that really kind of makes sense, because the next day the nodes shift, and so this is like a real shift. I would suspect that during the pre-shadow of Venus, which actually started, let me get that date for you so you have it. The pre-shadow actually started on June 20th. And so since June 20th, you can be looking at what kind of Venusian themes have been coming up. And likely, you've had whatever is going to be assisting you to make the assessments around your own Venusian vibration. What's actually going to work for you in really shining your own light and really, attracting the people, places, things that are actually going to assist you to come into your next level brilliance, your next level creativity, your next level self-actualization. So Mars at that time is going to be at Virgo at 4 degrees and 27 minutes. So Mars in Virgo. So this is discernment. This is applying consciousness toward discernment and discerning what is actually effective for you in applying your energy. Virgo likes to tend to the garden of consciousness. So it wants to pull out the weeds, and Mars is kind of like a weed puller in a way. It actually, it is about selecting and applying energy. And so it can also be cutting, like it severs things, right? It does have to do with knives and swords, and right. So this is like it severs things in order to actually select things. And Mars in Virgo is very much that. It's about really discernment in applying Mars in a effective way, where you're severing yourself from things that actually just are not, that are depleting your energy rather than contributing, depleting nutrients out of your life rather than contributing nutrients to grow the things you desire to grow in your own consciousness and in your own life. And so that Mars is really nice there with a new moon in Cancer. This is really about taking care of yourself, and about, hopefully applying your energy in a way that is actually self-reliant, because we've been working on our self-reliance with the North Node in Taurus. And as we've been doing that, then we're going to naturally, easily make the selections necessary that would actually remove the people, places, things that do not resonate with the quality of consciousness we desire to grow in our own lives. And, also with our own, what it is that we desire to build. So, soon after the new moon, that moon will cross over the sun and then oppose Pluto. So this could definitely bring some intense energies in regards to relationships. Really could be cutting ties, could be removing oneself from realities, foundations, situations that just aren't good for you, that are not nurturing for you. And this new moon, through the new moon cycle, until Leo season, I think that we could be really seeing what isn't really nurturing us, what's depleting our light. And, we could definitely have reflections in the outside world that are Plutonian, that assist us to really recognize what needs to be removed, right? And it's not necessarily that on the new moon, okay, you're going to be ready to do that, although for some people that's true. But, this could be through the lunar cycle of till the next full moon, or even until the full moon in Cancer in 6 months from now, right? So recognizing that the new moons really do fall in several cycles, right? So it could be something that gets heated and begins a process that is completed at the full moon, or it could be something that actually like really carries on all the way until the full moon in Cancer in 6 months. So I think it's interesting too that Jupiter is at almost 12 degrees of Taurus. It's coming up to conjunct Uranus. It's finishing a cycle. So with this planetary pair, right, in Taurus, and this can definitely be about beliefs and how different belief structures can really expand the mind, expand body consciousness, expand our values, expand what we love, and how beliefs that we hold can actually limit us too, and can really limit our capacity to really connect with our own natural essence and our body consciousness, or our own natural self. And so when Jupiter comes to actually conjunct Uranus, that's going to be a really big deal, because we can utilize that to actually let go of beliefs that, again, are just not really supporting our natural self, who we really are, our natural light, right? And this is going to be such a big theme when Pluto goes into Aquarius, because Pluto's going to expose where it is that we are withholding or having to withhold our natural self, our natural expression, our natural light, who we're designed to be from the inside out. So that's going to be helpful. And it is, as I said, coming up fairly close. It's within like 10 degrees. So it's part of it, of what's going on, I think. Worthy of contemplation for sure. So the nodes of the moon in Aries and Libra. The North Node being in Aries, this is going to be, it will eventually move over Chiron in Aries. And this is really about applying our energy into our new identity, how we've changed over the last handful of years as Pluto has been culminating its time in Capricorn and beginning a new 20-year cycle in Aquarius. New identities are emerging. New chapters in our lives are emerging. And this can mean that relationships are changing in some way, shape, or form. This can be that we relate to things, anything and everything in the outside world in new ways, in different ways than we ever have before. And it can really also show us the way in which the world is reflecting back to us. We can really be feeling either wounds to our identity or healing to our identity, or it could be both. But we could ultimately need to reshape the way in which we relate to ourselves in some way. And also, this is just naturally going to apply to our relationships as well. So it's really bright. I've got a lot of light on me, so I know it probably just isn't a little much, but I think you can see me without that big light. So maybe put it on. Okay, well, it is what it is. So here, let me this off. So we could have relationships that are changing, and this would be a natural expression of the South Node moving through Libra. Remember that the nodes of the moon really expose our emotional attachments to these archetypal energies. So this is Aries and Libra. This is how we go about getting what we want. Things that are typically new or new chapters in our lives. And as we apply our energy, Mars, the way that I always describe it is that when we literally direct our consciousness and we take action on the earth plane, we literally put energy signatures in our vibration, in our energy, right? This is Venus and as it rules Taurus. And as we take action in the world, this is literally the language of the earth consciousness, is taking action. Because what we act on, we believe in, right? And so the outside world can only reflect that back to us. And so this is the reflection that Venus is known for with Taurus and Libra in its rulership of those two signs. Is, we act on our own behalf, Mars, Aries, on our own identity and our own desires, Mars, Aries. And then this action creates a vibration within our own consciousness, and we literally magnetize to us the reflections that creates. And with Mars, we know, we take 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So we learn this way. We actually learn by taking action. Do we get the results we want? If we don't, then we fine tune it. Maybe we pivot a little bit. We actually, steer the wheel over just slightly so that we get a little different version of the reflection that we're desiring, right? And so this is what this axis of consciousness is really about, how we attract things to us based on that. And we discern what our needs are, right? With this inner side of Venus, Taurus. And we attract based upon our needs as well, and how we act upon our needs. And I'm going to just take a moment here to move this light because it's really bright. Okay, I think that's better. That was really bright. So this is important information to know, because you can understand then how we magnetize things to us. So when we're in relationship with others, we can always get to see, is this really resonating with my internal Venus, my desires, my values, my own value, my resources? Is it contributing as a resource to me, right? So our relationships are meant to be a resource. They are meant to resource us into our desires and to empower us in embodying what we desire, embodying our soul. Venus, as it rules Taurus, is our desires that emanate from the soul. Pluto, Scorpio. Mars is how we act upon them. So our relationships really need to be reflecting themselves as a resource in our lives, rather than something that is depleting our energy or is not a resource in our lives, that is taking. If there's something, situation, people, places, things that are taking from us, depleting from us, are not resourcing us for not only our needs to get met, but also for our desires to be embodied, then they are not resonating. And they are literally depleting us and literally aging us. So the nodes of the moon being in Taurus and Scorpio, and then Aries and Libra, is such an important, basically like 5-year transit, because this is about the opportunity of balancing our masculine and our feminine energy, internally and externally. And so this is really, as we are balanced, we are healthy, we're in homeostasis. This is where we generate energy rather than deplete energy. And so the work that we do with the nodes in Aries and Libra is seeding an 18-year cycle where we have the opportunity to balance our masculine and balance our feminine, and really, literally gain energy, replenish energy, regenerate energy in the body, and really create health and vitality. As we do this, remember, then the nodes just move backwards. Then the nodes are going to move into Virgo and Pisces. This is the health axis in consciousness. When that happens, when the South Node's in Virgo, it's going to be what routines are supporting my health and vitality. Hopefully you've removed the relationships by then that are not encouraging your health and vitality. If by then you will have wanted to remove relationships, people, places, things, circumstances, situations that are not valuing you, not contributing to your light, not actually resourcing you, not enhancing your passion, not enhancing your vision for your life. Those things need to be removed, and those situations need to be removed. And so this is going to be the work that begins as the nodes move into Aries and Libra. And also, this is very much in support of Pluto moving into Aquarius, because Pluto in Aquarius is going to be squaring the fixed grand costs in our charts and our own psyches. It's going to be asking us to also work with contributing our own unique light, coming into alignment with our own needs and our own soul, in the embodiment of our soul, the embodiment of our light, and our own self-actualization process in our natural self. And one of the ways that this can be implemented is the quite opposite of that, where we have situations, people, places, things that are testing us. Are we really going to make the effort to do that? You know, we might have things in our lives that are really trying to overpower us in that way, or that feel threatened by our light or by our power or by our natural self. There may be things in the outside world that desire to control us or to manipulate us, to take our resources, to take our freedoms even, you know. And so what you do with that is what's most important. Because, I mean, there's always going to be those things. You know, we always have transits. But this is going to be on a really big collective scale because this is Pluto and Aquarius. And this is about groups of people. And this is about movements in society. And it's about technology and really like big structural changes in consciousness. So we're going to want to be really devoted to our own light, really devoted to applying our energy and pivoting whenever is needed. Being willing to let go of maybe even people we care about and love, because our first obligation is to our own contribution of light in the world. Because when we are in alignment with that, and when we are giving that, we are naturally going to be giving to the collective unconscious in healthy ways. And we're going to be naturally contributing a function in society that's necessary and really assists for all the pieces of the puzzle to fit. So it is a very powerful and important thing that we actually really honor our own needs and honor the needs of others as well, and be willing to let go of relationships that are not compatible. And though we may love them, though we may very much appreciate them, they may not be compatible with our path. And so this is going to be an interesting and exciting, I think, 18-month cycle. And, you know, we might come out of it very, very different, because relationships will change. You know, people may leave our life or come into our life. New people may come into our life. And as we're allowing for what doesn't resonate to be removed or to naturally fall away, we're actually giving space for what does resonate and what will resource us in our new identity and new path forward. So this is a little bit of a brief introduction into the nodes being in Aries and Libra, and how this full moon in Capricorn on July 3rd is coming to some important completions to really set the stage for this new cycle, with the nodes of the moon moving into Aries and Libra. And that new moon in Cancer will also be in support of that, while also supporting any, you know, little bit of cleaning up and anything that's residual within our Venusian consciousness Mars and Pluto consciousness in regards to this yin axis and consciousness that we've been exploring with the nodes being in Taurus for the last 18 months. So I hope this is helpful. I would love to hear your thoughts. Of course, you're welcome to ask questions as well. I'm happy to elaborate in the comments. If you find this video helpful, then please do let me know. Let me know what you think is helpful. If you feel inclined, do like, comment, share if you feel inclined. It always makes the conversation more rich, and definitely appreciate the support. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to get more updates. I will be coming back here talking about this nodal axis, I'm sure, a lot more. And of course, I always love to do the new moons and full moons. And then I do try to come on here and do transits. If you want more frequent conversations from me, you can always find me on Facebook. I will put the link in the description box. I do a lot of lives on Facebook. It's just easy. That's why I've been doing it there. I've yet to come on live here. I've wanted to, but the thing is that my following here is much smaller than it is on Facebook. So I typically go on live there, but I keep kind of have this gnawing feeling like I need to go on live on YouTube. I just haven't done it yet. And every time I, think of someone, it's like, I want to just do a video about it, because it's kind of like what I've been doing, but I would like to come on live and try it out. I just would like a subject that is, it's definitely astrology based, but not something that I feel is really, really important, because, I'm curious. I don't know if when I come on live, if it'll keep the live as a video. So I'm like, I don't know what that's going to do. So I tend to just do the video, but one of these days I might just hop on and do something quick. But if you do like my approach to astrology, and you'd like to follow me on Facebook, you're welcome to. I also do a lot of writing on Facebook about astrology, and I love writing. It has a little bit of a different flavor, so I think that that's fun to follow as well. So you're welcome to follow me there. I'm also doing some writing on Substack, so you could follow me there. That's called The Labyrinth. And it really is kind of in alignment with working with eclipses and the new moons and full moons, because the labyrinth, if you don't already know, is an ancient practice that actually began in the Atlantean times. And they actually built the first labyrinth called the Temple of Knossos. And they utilized this labyrinth to actually contemplate their own personal spiritual growth. There was crystals in the labyrinth, and they would meditate at these different crystal sites. And so the idea was to go on this journey into the labyrinth. And this really was like a metaphor into your own consciousness, right? And acting it out, right? That Mars energy, acting it out, walking, right? Walking it, walking the idea, walking with it's like a walking meditation, right? And then you get to the center, and then you would go back out, and you were changed. You had discovered parts of your consciousness that maybe you hadn't noticed before, and how it related to your idea and your really your seated intentions that you're developing. So that's why I've called it The Labyrinth. And you can find that on Substack. I also have a community on Facebook called The Labyrinth, A Journey Through the Eclipses. You can find me there, and you're certainly welcome to join. I do a lot in there during eclipse season, so you can find that if you like. And but otherwise, yeah, I do lives on my personal page. I don't do the lives on my astrology page as much. I mostly do a lot of my astrology on my personal page now, but I do have an astrology page, so you can find me there as well. Usually what I post there, I'm posting on my personal pages, so whatever you prefer. So I'll put those links in the description box, and of course I'd love to see you. I'd love to have you join the conversation if you like. And yeah, thanks so much for joining me. I know this is a long one, and I think it was worthy of contemplation. So sending you many blessings, and may your full moon be really productive in your reality, your world, and of course the new moon coming in Cancer, and of course as the nodes shift into Aries and Libra. So thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.